Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.
So this is real. This is where the podcast has started.
It's happening now. And you were telling me that you had to dress in a suit. I was telling you.
Yes, I was in a suit. Mm-hmm. Yes, walking around in a suit, and I think that I would just notice that people found in this 100 and whatever degree heat. I got the combined feeling of like confusion of why would anyone wear something so hot in this circumstance. Like, don't you have something that makes? I had an important meeting this morning that I had to look good for.
You had to look, but you had to look dapper.
I had to look dapper, but I also had to pick up ice because our ice machine in our house is broken, and in 100 and something degree heat, your family needs ice for their drinks. And
of course,
so I was at the store getting ice, and I just noticed a combined look of confusion. I was like whatever, but also kind of like kind
of admiration.
This guy looks pretty good. And then you joked about ZZ Top, saying it's been years that people have known that every girl's crazy about a sharp-dressed man.
Yes, every girl is crazy about a sharp-dressed man. That is poetry. That is poetry, and it's a lyric that has been with us for probably close to 40 years now. So every girl crazy about a sharp-dressed man, right?
So I was essentially, to get this in perspective for, I think, the male audience, I was like a woman walking around in a bikini in the winter.
In the winter, where you see you see the beauty.
You're like, why is she in a bikini? Doesn't she realize how cold it is outside? But at the same time, you're like, she's wearing a bikini. That's pretty cool.
I've got nothing but admiration, right? Because it's a commitment. Right. It's a commitment. It's like, I want to look good despite what the world is telling me, right?
Right. Yes.
So that's what's great. That's what's great about it. Yes. And so then that led us to the conversation.
Every girl's crazy about a sharp-dressed man.
For you children,
we should have
listened to our show. For you children who listen to our show who don't know who ZZ Top are. ZZ Top are a rock band of three men that have been playing music together since I think the late 1960s. And they have been, as far as I know, the longest running original lineup musicians in history. And
they longer than the Stones.
Longer than the Stones, anybody, because it's the original three guys.
They never changed their lineup.
Yes. Yeah. And their signature look is the main two guys have these giant long beards, just down to their belly buttons. And then they got the drummer. Right, who's got the mustache and kind of the tight curly
afro,
hair. Yeah, he's got like curly hair. He's got the mustache, but he has no beard. And it's just hilarious that his commitment to being the guy without the beard, there must have been a band meeting when ZZ's Top was formed, and they're like, we should all have very long beards. And he, somewhere along the way, he just was like, no.
I look great in a mustache. And I'll wear nothing else.
And these tight curls, and that's it. And they're like, but...
And you can't make me.
I feel like we should look like a unified front, and all three of us should have very long beards. And he was just,
we could be unified around my mustache. Yeah, that's what we can be unified around.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it was.
And he stood his ground.
It was a rock paper scissors. Do we have curly hair and mustaches or long beards? 1, 2, 3.
There's long beards, which is like one symbol. There's curly hair and mustache, which is something else.
And then no hair.
The last
at all.
One is
hairless.
Bald.
Yes, powder. Like just completely. Like no eyebrows too.
No eyebrows.
All of it gone. Well, actually, I actually am glad that we started on the ZZ Top sharp dressed man. Your conversation about the suit, because it's perfect for today's podcast. Perfect.
Okay.
So today on the Biofriendly podcast, welcome to the Biofriendly podcast. By the way, are you hearing
welcome to the
Are you hearing like a pop clip or something, like a click, or is that just me on my end? I'm hearing like a...
I don't hear a pop click.
Okay.
Did you turn off your metronome?
Oh. What if
this it automatically starts the metronome?
It automatically, when you record
GarageBand, for those of you who don't.
Yeah, we record our voices in GarageBand. But no, I was going to say, that'd be so funny if this entire time I've always recorded with a metronome popping and clicking. No, I keep hearing, I think it's Zoom. I think it's doing like kind of a glitchy audio thing. But that's why we do the separate audio tracks anyway.
That's it. So that if we have to we'll take audio from another source.
Exactly.
We'll be fine. Your listening experience will not be affected. You'll just have to listen through us complaining about it.
Complaining about it. But again, welcome to the Biofriendly podcast. Hi. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great. As you can see, I got out of the suit.
Yes.
Because
you're now relaxed.
It was hot and it was unreasonable to wear it.
Yeah.
So I'm now wearing I try to wear something nice for the podcast, but today I'm just in blue t-shirt because it's really hot out here.
It is very hot.
LA.
Before we record, I have a fan blowing here and a fan blowing there on me, and I have to turn them off on the podcast, or it would just sound like, It
ruins the audio.
It ruins the audio. So by the end of this, I'm going to be a mess. So just letting you know. But today's topic is vegan leather.
Vegan leather.
Vegan leather.
Isn't that an oxymoron or something?
It is an oxymoron. But here's the crazy thing. So I feel like
oxymoron gets misused, by the way, because that is a grammar term. Specifically about a grammatical situation where you're using two opposites to put together to make a new. Where I don't know, but people kind of turn that into a term for trying to describe a situation that's the opposite of what it should be. But I don't know if that's the correct phrase.
Well, I think it's fair.
You're not talking about grammar.
I think it's. Well, I get what you mean, though. I get what you mean, but in the general sense, it's kind of an oxymoron because when you think of leather, we think of animal hides, animal products.
Yes.
And but as we all know, which has been around forever, pleather's been here on the market for a long time. We've had the whole PVC based.
Cannot hunt a vampire without pleather.
No, exactly. We've all seen Underworld, and you have to go out and get a pleather suit. You don't get a leather suit; you get a pleather suit.
No,
and
you
that's
get pleather skin tight,
and
you go kill,
and that's how you hunt vampires, and that's the rule.
Yeah,
and it's not very breathable as a fabric. No. But no, it's been around for a long time. You have the PVC-based pleather, and then you have the polyurethane-based leather, which is using plastics in order to make these things. And they're the most common types of faux leather. So when we talk about this idea of vegan leather, I'm going to take it a step further because initially we have what's pretty common. You go buy a couch or a piece of furniture. Furniture. Why did I make it?
You sound like Gru from Furniture. Before we destroy the places with the kids. All right, girls, don't trust this. What you have to say.
Furniture. It sounds like a mythical beast. He is furniture.
It does. Furniture.
So
he's gonna fight against Voltron.
Yeah. So well done on the Gru impersonation. It was it was very good, by the way.
Thanks, pal.
But where was I? We all know that's been around for a while, and that's pretty common to get. But so there would be a debate, right, between leather and pleather, because you could look at one side and say, okay, well, pleather and this type of fabric is more humane and cruelty-free because we're not harming animals because of it, and it's a better choice overall because of all these reasons, right? But then you could look on the other side and you could say, yes, but plastics, microplastics, as we all know, are a continuing, ongoing problem. And they even just, there were some scientists that did a study in Arizona just last week, and they had all these human organs, and every single one of them had microplastics in them. All of them. Like 100% of the cadavers that they experimented on, they were like, every single one of these bodies has microplastics. Yeah. So we've gotten so surrounded by, plastics being a common replacement that it just is starting to get into our bodies. So you have both those sides of the coin, right? You have, but the leather hide, the animal hide, it's not as bad overall because it will degrade. It's natural in its source, right?
Also, I would make the argument that we haven't successfully stopped eating meat.
Yes.
And we're not eating cow hides. We're eating the meat inside. So you're skinning the thing anyway. So you have the leather. You've got it.
Right. And that's...
But carry on.
No. That was one of the things that I was sitting and talking to Jamie last night when I was reading about this topic. I was like, the interesting thing is that, okay, there's so many different sources as I was reading. So many things so there is a famous fashion designer named Stella McCartney. And she was talking about she's a big pusher of vegan leather, sustainable leather, getting away from animal products. That's like her big thing. And her response when people say like, oh, well, an animal hide will degrade and it's more natural. She's like, that's baloney. That's rubbish. She's like, the thing is that
rubbish.
She uses the word rubbish, which I thought was great. She's like, that's rubbish.
Very British.
Yeah. So she's like, it's rubbish because if you had an animal hide, like as in you're a Native American and you just hunted this animal and you fed your family and you had the hide, that will degrade. But the leather handbags and the leather products that you buy that are animal hides, they've been so treated with chemicals and things that are going to make them.
They don't want them to degrade.
They want them to last forever, right? So it's not like you're going to have this jacket in your closet that you're going to oh no, it degraded. It's going to last a very, very long time. So that was her standpoint of that. But
but it's not like you're throwing. Like plastic lasts like 900 years.
Right.
Before it'll degrade.
It'll degrade before that. Yeah. If we were to have a time machine,
particularly if you get it into the environment, like once you've got it in a landfill and it can now be exposed to bacteria and
it'll degrade
and heat and just the friction of dirt. I mean, it's like it'll degrade.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right. If we were in a time machine and we were going to hang up a pleather jacket, if we were to hang up the vampire hunting pleather outfit from Underworld right next to a classic authentic leather bomber jacket, and you came back in 900 years, the leather jacket would probably be gone. And,
it's gone,
and the Underworld suit
in 900 years the plastic, the Underworld suit probably be gone too. But let's say like 400 years from now,
400 years,
you want to fight vampires,
and that's why vampires choose pleather. That's why they choose pleather.
This is the whole point of the podcast, is so people can understand why vampire hunters choose pleather. Because if you're going to hunt vampires and be like Blade, well, no, Blade dies, but like
spoiler.
In Underworld, you've got vampires hunting other vampires as well as werewolves and things. They've got to wear pleather because they're living a very long time.
Exactly. That's
right. So you need that pleather to last as many hundreds of years as you can, whereas the cowhide version of the same just leather skin tight suit, that's not going to last if you're a vampire long enough.
It'll degrade.
You need more hundreds of years.
Plus, like all the elements that you're around vampires, there's lots of worms, which is like compost. You're by graves and worms, so they're going to eat through your suit. So the main topic of today's podcast is vampire hunters choose pleather.
And they should continue.
And they should continue such. No,
please. Please, vampire hunters, don't. And this is an important demographic to our audience, by the way.
Yes,
vampire hunters, please don't think that we are saying to stop using pleather when you're hunting.
Oh no. We have a.
You're doing great.
We have a strong supporting vampire hunting. Staunch.
100%.
So
I'm sorry. Where were we?
No, I don't know. Vegan leather outside, beyond. So now we're going to take it beyond.
Yes.
We have those
Stella
two.
McCartney. Yeah.
Stella McCartney. So, as we all know, vegan leather, it says, why it's called vegan leather. It doesn't contain animal product. Whether that's plastic, that's why we're calling it vegan leather. But there have been some recent advancements that are coming out. And I think this is pretty cool. You're going to love this. Okay. One of the biggest names in the plant-based leather world these days is called Pinatex. So it has the N with the N-Y over it, Pinatex.
Oh, cool. Is it from a Spanish-speaking country?
I believe so. Here, let me see here. Pinatex, made from pineapple leaf fibers that are a byproduct of the fruit industry. So this isn't a new concept. Pineapple leaves have been used for centuries to make traditional clothing in the Philippines, which is what creator Dr. Carmen Hijosa used as the basis for her invention. So they're making this is from the fibers of a pineapple. And Pinatex can make it looks like leather. That's the crazy thing is they can make products that look like leather, but it's out of pineapple. And when I first saw that, I was like, wow, that's such a cool cutting edge new tech. Well, apparently, like it said just then, this is something that they've been doing for hundreds and hundreds of years. And over the past 20, 30 years, had like fallen out of the limelight. Everybody had started relying upon the imported clothing and things from other parts of the world and what other people were doing. And so now it's starting to make this resurgence. And like they even make some of their ceremonial dresses, like in the Philippines, out of pineapple. And so this is a very cool thing, which I thought what's so interesting is like leather has this smell to it, right? Like if you go to a leather shop or if you go into a store that sells like
you
a lot of...
You immediately feel like you should light up some kind of smoking thing.
It's very...
Get just a fifth of whiskey at least.
Yeah.
And just like, you know, like, and ride something.
Right.
Some kind of
animal
animal.
Animal hides have this really like... When you at least, and maybe it's just because we've been trained since we were little. You walk into like a store that's selling a bunch of leather stuff, and it's all very macho, and there's this kind of smell in the air. There was this old silly. I think it only went maybe once or twice, but there was an SNL with Jimmy Fallon. Where he was the leather man. Did you ever see that one? He owns a leather.
I don't know if I saw that one.
So he owns a leather store, and everything he wears is leather. And as people are like, "Do you have this?" He would walk over, and they would just make the more over dramatic sound of leather, like rick, rick, rick. And it was just like such a dumb joke, but it was funny. At the same time.
Well, again, that's why vampire hunters use pleather.
Again, we go back to the point why vampires use pleather, because it's less noisy, that's for sure.
Yes.
And that macho smell you can smell a mile away. But what
you can't, because the vampires have enhanced smell, and they'll know that they'll see the cowboy coming.
Oh yeah,
but they won't see the underworld vampire hunter.
Pleather is very hard to smell. Leather is very easy to smell, and so vampire hunters exactly. The early cowboy vampire hunters were always getting caught because they were hanging around and they'd be like smell the air and they'd be like, ooh, a man's coming, you know, and they knew.
Man's coming. Yeah.
They knew.
Now, will vampires know that if you're wearing a pina colada leather, if you're wearing the pina leather,
if you like pina coladas with your leather,
try a pineapple suit. So if you're wearing the pine, do you smell like fruit? Like, do you smell tropical?
You got to what I was wondering, which was, what if this whole time, because not only is there a company that makes leather out of pineapples, there is another company in Denmark called the Apple Girl, and they transform apple skins left over from juicing into leather, plant-based leather. Oh. And another company, another design company called Samara, so they add them out of apples. So what if you could wind back time? And humans...
If I could wind back time...
That's how the Cher song goes, right? If I could wind back my clock, it'd be dead. So...
We all wear apple skins.
Exactly. Sorry. What if we could go back in time? It's fine. You were in a hot suit. Now you're feeling cool and relaxed, and you're feeling like...
So relaxed.
Breezy. If we could wind back time... And we could go back, if we could turn back time, as Cher says, and we go back to the days of the cowboys or even the settlers, you know, thousands of years, and nobody decided to use animal hides, and it was all pineapple, and it was all apple skins, and cowboys like defined themselves by being like the pineapple gang or the apple gang. And you'd walk into a saloon, and it'd be like a bunch of pineapple cowboys. And then in walks an apple, and they'd be like, "Ugh, we don't take too kindly to you apple-wearing cowboys."
Apple-wearing cowboys, we're pineapple.
We're pineapple.
Not apple. Stupid
apple. You got to have the pine in your apple. So
otherwise, it's not a suit at all. You're just walking around getting eaten by vampires. Yeah, that's a fair.
What if? Just what if? What if?
I wish we could have known. If only we could have known. And then today it would be like macho and cool to smell like apple leather.
Exactly. You know? You have apple leather now. You have pineapple leather. But that's the list doesn't stop there. It keeps going. You wouldn't believe what they're able to make leather out of.
Okay. Talk to me. Let me know.
I told
Fill
you.
me in.
I told you you wouldn't believe it, so I'm not going to read them.
I won't believe. Okay, don't believe it. I don't. You know what? Since I don't believe it, let's just end the podcast. This is over. This whole podcast is unbelievable.
20 minutes in.
Yeah.
Okay, ready?
I'm ready.
Paper. Right?
Paper.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So trees.
Okay. So So trees. But first up, may surprise you, it's paper. Why it may be hard to believe that paper can be as strong as leather. Don't forget that we have featured this is an article. There was an actual cathedral made from cardboard before. I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, look, what is paper basically, right? It's just you make it dense enough and it's wood again.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's not like you can't build a house.
It's not like
or
you
some
can't
kind
build
of
something
structure
strong. Yeah, paper
out of wood.
is a fiber that if you just make the paper really, really thick, it's gonna be strong. So
Right.
So anyway, if you could build architecture with it, it can certainly be strong enough for a handbag, as Bottega Veneta realized when it created their gorgeous paper Carta Giapponese bag. So they made a bag out of a thick paper, and it looks like it's leather. So a delicate paper derived from the bark of the fast-growing kozo tree, a Japanese relative of the common mulberry. So there's one, paper. Up next, now this is one of the biggest ones outside of fruit. Cork. Cork is actually one of the best choices. Every place that I was researching about alternatives to leather, cork is like the number one. Yes, because it's water resistant. It's waterproof, baby. So that's already
problem one is solved. You don't have to treat it. It's done.
You don't even have to treat it. It's done. So it's being one of the most ecologically friendly materials around. It's easily recycled, completely natural, and using cork oak forest for industry helps prevent desertification and deforestation. Mainly harvested in southern Europe, there is a particular cork forest in the Iberian Peninsula that is essential to the protection of endangered species in the region. So there's even companies like Chanel and Louboutin that make cork like shoes. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Yeah.
I probably can't afford those either.
No, you can't. Definitely can't afford those. Yeah. But I'm going to get you a cork suit.
Well, see, now we're talking.
The reason I
would look great in a cork suit.
What I think would be so cool about cork suits is I could pin a note.
As I'm walking by on the phone, and you just pin something on me for later. That's great.
We need to talk about this later. And by the end of the day, you just have notes all over your cork suit.
I am.
Are you in?
I'm 100% in.
Okay.
I think this could change everything. This could change everything. I'm so
cork
in.
Suits.
I can't even stand it.
Cork.
Yeah.
Cork.
Yep,
so
let's do
there
it.
you go. Yeah, they float. Yep. It's waterproof. So like we could go swimming. We could get cork swimsuits.
Oh well, then we can float. Why bother swimming?
Why bother swimming? Let's
That's
just.
good.
Well, you wouldn't need a raft. You would just like get in the pool, and then your torso would just kind of slowly raise to the surface of the water.
And then I'm just laying down, floating. This is good. If we just made all clothes of cork, then nobody would ever drown again.
Exactly. It's
brilliant.
Well, I won't go into. This one says recycle.
Well, okay.
What?
Go ahead. No. Keep going. Finish. Finish the list of things I can't believe.
Okay. I'll just list them off quickly so I'm not sitting here reading a bunch of stuff. Recycled rubber. Okay. Waxed cotton.
Recycled rubber. Yeah. So you can bounce.
Yeah, so you can bounce. It's bouncy. Yeah. Cool.
How about recycled flubber?
Flubber. Yes. Flubber is a definite. Okay. You have to have flubber. That is the best alternative to leather, but it's called pleather.
Pleather? Now that's how you hunt vampires.
Yes, that's how you hunt, because they come at you and they try to attack and then they just bounce off. So
and they just bounce away.
Why don't we make a movie that combines flubber and vampire hunting? So it's like the Nutty Professor meets vampire hunting. So he all of his weapons and everything he does to beat vampires is all flubber based. I think we got it. Now
Abraham Van Helsing. Pleather
detective. Okay, cool stone leather. This one's weird. A brand new kind of eco-friendly vegan leather is made from a sobel slate stone. This has a matte gray finish and actually looks and feels a bit like paper combined with rock. So interesting, huh?
Okay.
Tree bark leather, Apple leather, which we already read that one. Pinatex, that's on the list too. Recycled tires. Mushrooms. The Hana plant, which is the agave plant. Large leaves and coffee leather. And
coffee leather.
And wine and grape leather. Okay, so there's wine and grape and there's coffee. So you could have people in coffee leather and wine leather. And so those cowboys, one group of cowboys in coffee leather are hyper. They're just like the most energetic cowboys you've ever met. And then you've got the wine leather cowboys, and they're just watching true crime docs and I don't know. I'm grasping at straws here. Yeah. So
that's all right.
That's vegan leather. I've stopped
listening. Is it
listing.
time to respond?
It's time
all of
for
this madness.
I want you to respond. Give me your best shot.
Okay. One of my great concerns about modern environmentalism is that the phrase climate change takes such dominance over what is overwhelmingly a field that needs to confront bigger problems. And I know I've heard climate change is the biggest problem that's ever going to be. Okay. Right. All right. I think climate change is a huge issue. I think climate change is an important issue that we need to stay on top of. I think that we produce too much air pollution.
Right.
And that we've got to stop doing that. We've got to find solutions to that. And I will never stop saying that, and I'll never be against that. But if you blame everything on climate change, which, by the way, veganism, one of the arguments that is made for veganism is that it's good for the environment, okay?
Right,
and that it helps climate change. But if we keep saying climate change, we're going to kill ourselves.
Yeah.
Because there are bigger problems. I think, to me, the biggest problem that humans actually present to the planet is the amount of space we take.
Yeah.
I mean, the more that we use up the planet and take the land of the planet and the areas of the planet, the less the rest of the species and life from this planet can occupy. So this is, I think, a great example of something that concerns me for that topic. Okay. Is while having 1,000 different options to make leather could be better for the environment than leather that already exists.
Right.
Or is made for that purpose, right? Because that's kind of the idea, right? You're killing less animals and whatever else. What we're talking about is potentially making leather from something else, from a pineapple,
right?
From a cork tree forest, from from mushrooms, from all these other things that you've got. So if you have pineapples in your area and you're not using them for food and there's extra, yeah, man, make a leather suit or 50 or 60 or 70. That's like I'm down with that. I'm okay with that. But if we go and say we need to cut out leather and start producing it from apples, well, now we're creating farms to make food, I guess, that we're maybe going to eat, but probably we're going to mostly turn into suits to go fight vampires.
Right.
And I think that we've got to be careful to look at what is the most efficient option for the planet.
Right.
Like what's the best way to do this? Because if we go taking up all the land to do something that is less efficient, and I haven't looked into, it was great to find out from you that we're doing, vegan leather. I didn't research it. This is an off the cuff answer. But I think that we need to look at what is the most responsible use of land here. What is the most efficient use of creating clothing, and also feeding people. Right? If we start using farmed foods, like this is why I'm kind of against biofuels, is because I think that having gigantic farms to produce food that's burned is not really a sensible option. I think that there's better ways to go about it. And I think that we're kind of leaning on that sort of edge of things. And while I am empathetic to the idea that we want to be kinder to animals, and I actually agree with that. I think that eating less meat is a good thing to do, and spending more money on meat that's sustainably grown is also a good idea.
Right.
But unless we all do that, we're not going to stop industrial farming, because if we stopped industrial farming, then like to have grass-fed organic meat would take up, again, too much. We'd be taking up too much space. It's not possible to do. So I personally am in favor of, let's find a way to eat less. Let's find a way to eat better, and let's make it so that we have less space for meat, and that the meat that's there is sustainably grown, and that from there you can get leather.
Yeah.
And that's a really simplistic kind of concept of what I would be probably more for than turning pineapples into suits.
This is the episode that Noel confesses that he's Thanos and and wants to trim the population in half. No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't. I agree with so much of what vegans state. I mean, we don't have a diverse enough diet. We don't.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, like, the reason that chickens lay so many eggs is because they would not exist on the planet, as they have no defenses, and they're easily eatable by everything. So there's a lot of chickens out there because they're farmed. I mean, that's one of the reasons there are so many chickens, is because they're really easy to kill and eat.
Right.
You know, and then they create a lot of eggs because they have to have a lot of children in order to continue to survive.
Right.
Because they're just easy to kill, compared to other ones that fly better and are faster, and and cows, to some degree, it's kind of the same. Like, there's a reason why we have, like, those have been the chosen meat animal. Right? But and go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'm with you, and I think that what I got more out of the vegan leather developments was less about, I mean, I know that their heart behind it is like, we don't have to kill animals, but I was more excited about the fact that we could find solutions to defeat pleather. To tell you the truth, like, my win was, honestly, pleather and all these polyurethane and PVC pipe-based clothes that we have are probably worse than us taking the cows that are being used for food and making a leather jacket out of it. It's probably worse to keep manufacturing more and more things that'll end up in landfills and whatnot that won't disintegrate and that can get the possibility of withering down to microplastics. So in some ways, I was kind of like, hey, if we're going to keep eating meat and there's going to be the hides of animals, by all means, be like the Native Americans, be like the settlers, use that hide, be responsible, do it in a very safe and a non-cruel process, do it. But if we can somehow figure out to no longer have to make pleather and give these vampire hunters apple suits, I'm in. That's.
So you're saying.
You're saying this is
maybe the vampires shouldn't be using pleather anymore.
I'm saying maybe the vampires should be wearing pineapple suits, unscented.
Okay.
Pineapple suits.
Of course. Of course. We can't. We don't want to. We don't want to give away vampire hunters.
We don't want to have a bunch of a den of vampires sitting around and going like, "Do you smell that? It smells like pina coladas. We got to get out of here."
I get.
So you know what I'm saying? It's the other side.
I do, but I feel like this is one of those things. It's like buying local, right? It's like so much of what we can do to help the environment, and I hope we make this clear enough to our audience. So much of what you can do is by finding the sensible solution that's available to you. Right. There's probably plenty of extra pineapples around in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So if there's a plethora of piñatas. Sorry, I'm doing those.
Of pineapples.
Of pineapples. Then I'm not. And you're wasting stuff anyway. Then I'm not for it. It's like with the. Sorry, I got it. I didn't put my phone in airplane mode, and so texts are jumping on. I'm so sorry.
Dare you?
I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Clayton is texting me in the middle of this. Of all people, just I thought you'd get a
Clayton,
kick out of that.
how dare you? How dare you interrupt this? We're talking about vampire hunters and pineapple suits.
This is important stuff. If you're finding a solution that's like I'm not against a milk-based T-shirt.
Right.
If we have milk waste.
Right.
If you have milk waste, let's use it. Let's be as efficient as possible Let's be as responsible as possible, and let's not be as wasteful. Like plastic was created as a green solution. Plastic exists because it was an environmentally friendly solution to killing rhinos and turtles and elephants.
Right.
Mostly elephants, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's at its heart, its inventor was not like, I'm going to create the most evil substance on Earth that's going to end up in the ocean with giant islands of floating glass. That was never, the idea was, here is a option for a resource that we have plenty of.
Yeah.
There's lots of it, and if we're responsible with this and we don't go wasting it and we're good about it, you've got a solution that's better for the environment because you're going to kill less animals.
Right.
And he was right.
Right.
But the problem is, and this is one of the problems of a free market, right? And I'm for a free market before anybody yells at me. I am.
Yeah.
But I know that, but there's obviously problems to it. That's why you have to have some regulation. One of the problems of free market is you then look at this substance, look at this stuff. Think about all the things we can produce with this. How much cheaper we can make this. How much longer we can make this last if we seal it in this stuff. And you have then an explosion of plastic where it's irresponsibly used.
Right.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. That's the
isn't
problem.
plastic. The problem is how we use it.
Right.
And that's the thing people need to start thinking with is how can I do what little things I can personally do to be less of a source of this problem. And and eating more expensive meats and less meat is a good idea for that reason, because then you make it possible for organic farms to be what supplies the meat without us taking over the planet.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that is a very, very good point in that environmentalism can be we found a solution, but that could replace this problem with this problem over here. You know what I mean? It's one, exchange one for the other. And what you're saying is, and what I'm getting is that, but we always have to factor in the tendency of humans to take something and deplete it and to use it irresponsibly. So like if you have, so let's go back to my joke about what if cowboys had chosen pineapples and apples to make leather, and the entire industry at 250 years ago was pineapple and apples. We would probably be sitting here today and being part of causes saying, we need to save the pineapple. We need to save the apple, because we would have ran it into the ground. You know what I mean? It would have been,
or there's no land
don't even exist
for deer.
Yeah.
because we've taken over all of the land to create pineapple farms.
Right.
Or apple farms or what?
Right.
Who knows?
We would have.
I mean, I don't
pushed
think you'd
out
make enough leather to do that. But
I know what you mean. But so the point being, so when we list these things, and this is important for our audience to know, and we did last week's episode was one on weird energy, which was a lot of stuff that's kind of off kilter and out of the box. Really, this is to just kind of take a look and say, okay, what's out there? But the point being, if it's something that makes sense for your community, for your city, for your people, for your culture, and it's good for the environment and good for the economy, then do it. But if it's like, you need to grow a plant that isn't, native to your area, which requires you to import a bunch of water and dig, and now you've gotten a bunch of wildlife out of there because you're trying to grow pineapples
in New York.
But if you're trying to grow pineapples in New York, you start to miss the point. And so the point being, okay, wouldn't it be great if we could get rid of PVC, polyurethane, pleather, and replace it with something that is sustainable, that is biodegradable and made from plants, as long as it doesn't create another strain on the environment.
Right. Because we just need to be responsible with the space we use and how much of this planet we're abusing in order to survive.
Right.
Because we don't need it all. We don't.
We don't need it all.
We just don't.
Right.
We talk about the population and how big, but most of the population is densely populated in giant cities.
Right.
Most of the humans are in tiny spots. They're not taking up a lot of space.
Right.
We take up the space to consume because we're trying to consume stuff.
Yeah.
So how can we be more responsible about that? And that's environmentalism. Because how can we more responsibly do that so we don't destroy the planet? And that's way more than just climate change. And climate change can be a distraction that makes us come up with bizarre, outlandish solutions to solve a problem that can't really be solved that way.
Yeah.
Like there's we could solve climate change incredibly quickly if we took the financial benefit of some things out of the equation. It could be solved very quickly, and not the way you're being told either.
Right. No, that's true. That's true.
The technologies exist to do it, to make us a zero emission society. We could do it.
Yeah,
we could do it.
But there's a lot of money to be had. Yeah,
there's forces in the way, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily what you think it is. Some of it's what you think it is, but there's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
So let's not over invent. I don't know. Let's just not burn a bunch of corn to save the planet from carbon emissions.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. I knew bringing up vegan leather. It's funny because I immediately, as soon as I looked into it, I was like, but there are pros to this, but there are cons to this. There's always two sides to this. And so when we talk about these things, I like knowing, okay, do we want to make a jacket out of mushrooms? Sure. As long as you're not digging up, something that is going to hurt that area in the long run or chase off species or, it's about being responsible. That's the end of the day.
Right.
It's just being responsible.
Like a great example of this veganism problem and where it could go sideways that you maybe don't think about is one thing that is really bad for the environment is overhunting.
Yeah, right. Wow.
So a lot of times when you're hunting for food instead of farming for food, particularly now because there's a lot of humans.
Yeah.
You can go into an area where there's an abundant animal. Like in New Zealand, they used to have an emu that was massive. It was like elephant height.
Yeah.
Big flipping bird. Okay. The largest of that type that there ever was, and they were all over New Zealand. And the locals, the Maoris, they when they discovered it and came into the area, they hunted them and lived on them, but hunted them to extinction. They're gone.
Yeah.
They don't exist, right? Now you have some big birds out there, ostriches, emus, and so on, but this was a much bigger, much more fantastic bird and a really great food source. They're gone. They're gone because it's when you're hunting for food, you just want to eat. And so you keep hunting until you can't anymore and go, oh, oops.
Yeah.
Oops.
Right.
That's human nature because we got to survive. We don't care. We're just going to keep hunting.
Yeah.
Farming, like cows, it seems incredibly inhumane to go just killing cows, right?
Right.
But cows are easy to grow. They're easy to farm. They're easy to keep. And when you have that kind of meat available, people stop hunting other species that can't reproduce as fast.
Yeah.
And that can't continue to survive. So you actually save the planet. You help the planet by farming.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? You're actually it's good for the environment in that case to have a cow instead of a now extinct, gigantic ostrich. So there's more to look at when you're trying to factor in environmentalism and what it means.
Yeah.
Again, I totally respect anybody who doesn't want to eat a cow either. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that some people are going to. I'd rather that they were eating something that was farmed and that there were plenty of and that we could continue to reproduce than have less species on the planet.
No, I think that's a great example. And that's why you are who you are.
You are who you are. I don't know what that's. I wish that was a song. It's going to be a new song.
It's a new song. Please write that on the list of songs that we're writing.
It's very nice of you to say that, Jacob.
Yes, you are who you are. No,
I love that you are who you are.
This is the fun of these topics is that it's always good to kind of it's fun to throw something at you and just see what the visceral response is to the concept, then the more thoughtful, okay, well, I can see the value in that, and weighing between those two things, And so we look, I if anything, since this show has begun, I have definitely cut a lot of meat out of my diet. I have. I mean, you could compare.
Me too.
You could compare. Yeah, you as well. You could compare to the way I ate before the Biofriendly podcast began to where I eat now, and I would say it is not unreasonable to say I've cut 60% of the meat intake that I used to have out of my diet over the past year and a half because I just
absolutely
I just feel differently about consuming meat.
We know more.
I know more. I know that I don't need that much, and when I do, it's a little bit more of like well, that would be nice to have this, and that would be nice to have this, but I don't need it. I can get my my nutrition and my sources from other places, and I'm starting to experiment with other types of like vegetable-based meals that are more filling and more nutritious. And I'm just doing it because I'm getting older, and I want to like make sure my body holds out and like doesn't just get completely bogged down with fat and all this stuff that comes from just eating way too much too many animal products. And so we to our audience, we're big supporters of vegetarianism and veganism and making those choices, because I think in a lot of ways they can be beneficial to you for your health. But we also know that the industry exists and that we are fighting for that it to be done in the right way, the farming to be done in the humane, organic, helpful, healthy. That's what we believe in.
Yeah, you can absolutely find a way, and it's going to take time. It's going to take time. But if we didn't eat as much meat, and this is my biggest argument for eating less meat is to have better conditions for those animals. It is impossible to feed the amount of people on this planet without industrial farming. It can't be done.
Yeah.
Not the way we eat. Right. But if we change how we eat, then you can have better meats and you can have better conditions for these animals. Yeah. And we can all have some of that meat and enjoy some of that.
Yeah.
Without and then you could have a good conditions for everybody.
Yeah.
But that's gonna take everybody having a little bit of vegan in them. It just is.
Yeah.
It is because we're not going to be able to consume meat like we do now and continue to survive on this planet.
That is true.
And have humane conditions for the animals. It just isn't.
It's not possible.
We don't have the space.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah. So everybody has to start incorporating those ideas in order for us to continue the way that we want to. Yeah.
I think to me that's I think the most thoughtful way to try to help vegans and still be and still have a diet that includes meats, which we're omnivores, and some people don't want to give it up, and that's another. I rarely give shout outs to vegans, as we know. Sometimes I think I give them too hard of a time, and I do feel bad about that actually.
Yeah.
But think about from another perspective, which is those people who are choosing to that. It's about like 2% of the population. It's not a lot. Sometimes it gets a little more or less, but they're giving that up. Yeah. They're giving up that joy, that flavor, that iron that you get from meat for a thoughtful cause. So that's a nice thing.
Oh yeah, I have several vegan friends that I admire them. They inspire me. They share ingredients and meals that I'm like, oh, that's awesome. There's a great Instagram I follow called Forks Over Knives, and they show these amazing pictures of this food, and I'm like, gosh, that looks incredible. So I think it's an awesome thing, and we definitely are supportive of those. Because you're right. They get teased like CrossFitters, and they get teased for being kind of overly passionate and in your face. But I've met a lot of very cool ones that the first thing they say is they go, yes, I'm vegan, and yes, I won't bother you about that.
Well, it's the whole one-on-one thing, right?
Yeah,
you talk to anybody about anything one-on-one, and they're different than when they're in attack mode. Exactly.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that
or defend mode.
Yeah. No, both.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, both. Yeah.
Defend and attack.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, that was vegan leather. That was it.
Vegan leather.
Yeah.
Vegan leather. Okay, so we'll get our pineapple suits made.
Pineapple suits. Well, I think you should
see them next week.
We have the problem of dressing the same sometimes. So I think you should. Which do you want? You want a pineapple suit or an apple suit?
I'll do apple.
Okay, you'll go apple.
I'll do apple because I love apples.
Okay, I'll go pineapple, and then that way when we go, out to our events, I don't have to like walk out of the hotel room and you'd be like,
have that embarrassment.
We're both wearing apple suits.
We did it again.
Oh no. Oh no! It's so funny. All right, well, this has been the Biofriendly podcast, your beacon of light in a gloomy environment,
featuring greater parasympathetic nerve activity,
more than just charismatic megafauna.
Dolphins don't quit.
Nature is perfect. Look at eggs.
We are y'all inclusive. Do we have any new ones that we're supposed to add, by the way?
I forgot to go back and review to see what the one was. I'm so sorry. That's on me. That's on me.
That's on you, Jacob.
It is.
It's very rare that someone says that. Like, yeah, it is. Because it's such a
It's so true.
It's such a kind.
It is so true that it's such a that's an expression that people usually just go like, oh no, it's not. It's both of us.
Right. Because it's kind of a kind admission of my failure, right?
Yeah,
For someone to just go back to, yeah, that is on you.
Yeah.
You blew it. Do better.
That's so great. That's on me. It really is. It really is on you. I'm glad you've come to terms with that.
Glad you caught that. Yeah. Because it's not on me. I didn't do it.
It's definitely not on me. It's definitely on you. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
It's the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.